1 hour of product sourcing. I just got back from a Switzerland trip 2 days ago, and I am so excited to help you guys find some products to start traveling, doing Amazon FBA, and build your remote life. All right, so this is part 2, and we're picking up where we left off. So for some context here, this is our master lead tracking sheet. This is the sheet that we're gonna use to log all of the leads that we find. And again, as always, these leads are all for you guys. So as we come across new leads, hopefully we find good, profitable products. Then, start your Amazon selling account, bring them into your storefront, and start selling. Okay, this is just repetition and learning of how to find product sourcing, and we're gonna dive into it for 1 hour today and see how many products we can find and continue to build our catalog. Okay, now this is gonna be once a week. I'm gonna shoot these videos. I missed a week because I was away in Europe, but we're gonna do once a week, so we have a catalog or a video log of 20, 30, 40 videos, and we can have hundreds and hundreds of leads for you guys to use and sell to make money with on Amazon, okay? So here we are. So this is one of the leads we found from the last video, and if you want to, go and check that video out as well. If you are one step behind, that would be great to check that out. But this is the lead we found from last week, and then here's another lead that we're gonna reverse source and go through our sourcing strategy with. Now, for context, I'm gonna be using the reverse sourcing strategy. I mentioned it in the first video, just because it's the best strategy to find the most amount of leads in a quick amount of time. In all honesty, there's other sourcing strategies that we're gonna go through, like keep a product finder, like manually sourcing and so on. But for now, we're gonna stick with what's working, and that's gonna be reverse sourcing, okay? So we're gonna dive into it, and I'm gonna talk you through what I'm seeing and what I'm looking for as we go through some sourcing. So we're gonna go here on the right to SellerAmp, as always, and go through some reverse sourcing. So I'm gonna open up some storefronts here. Ideally storefronts that fit our mojo with being, smaller seller, good reviews, good stock, and so on. Let's open up at least 2 storefronts to get started, okay? So I'm on this seller storefront. Let's see what they got for us. So this seller sells 28 products from this brand. Wow. They sell 18 from generic. It's not typically great. 6 from EcoZone and 2 from K5. Okay, never really heard of these brands. So let's see here. Okay, so he looks like he's selling a ton of these products, these filter products from this brand here, which means that he's obviously buying it from a wholesaler or a really, really good supplier. And typically when I see that, that kind of tells me there's some opportunity there because we can jump in and do the same. So Waterworld LLC, okay? That's his name. He just has a bunch of these Kinetico filters here and all these other interesting products. His catalog is filled with all of these filters. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to deep dive here and try to push a wholesale or brand direct relationship, because if we're looking at a smaller seller who's not the brand and he's carrying 28 products from this brand, that tells me that there's a ton of opportunity for me to jump on there, or you guys to jump on there and build a wholesale relationship with this brand. Because I mean, look at this, he's carrying all these products, and if he's not related to the brand and he's a smaller seller, that's a good sign. That's a good sign for us to compete with. So you can tell much of his storefront is just this brand in general. So I'm going to skip past it. I'm going to go to EcoZone really quickly, this brand that he has here, just to see if there's any products that pop up. But if not, I'm going to move past it. Yeah, there's nothing that looks really good here. You can tell here on the right by looking at the quick view from the Keepa here. If I zoom in here, it just doesn't look too good. The chart doesn't look stable. The volume is just always increasing. It looks like most of his selling and profit and revenue is done from Kinetico. I'm sure there's other brands here that are maybe decent, but he's pretty top heavy with that brand. So I'm just going to kind of move past him as a seller and move on to our next one. So this seller that I clicked on has all Kinetico, all right? And he only has 4 listings. So you can tell he's putting all of his chips into one basket, which I definitely don't recommend. So we're going to skip past him as well. Let's dive back into some other sellers here and see. We'll look at Powerhouse Brands. He has about 500 reviews, which isn't great. I like for a smaller amount. I like for under 200 ideally, especially if you're a new seller just starting out. You want to stick under 200 reviews for sellers to target, because typically those are the ones where we can find our products from as well, from their same suppliers. As they get bigger and bigger to 1,000 reviews, they're just probably buying it wholesale from the brand directly. So we don't want to focus on that. Okay. Now let's open up these storefronts. Now, for the purpose of the video, I am going to open up the storefronts for this seller down here. Typically, I don't recommend it because you can tell this seller is priced at $239.99, way out of the market compared to these other sellers. And we want to compete with sellers who are actually making money or a profit first. So with him being priced way out of the market, there's typically no really reason to reverse source him because, that's something we don't want to focus on. It's something we don't want to stick our strategy with. So let me see this this seller here. Okay, so he's carrying Focal, Babbitt Pack, Will Cover, Elite, SIBO. Okay, I can tell that's a filter. All right, let's go through it. So we have perfume here, good price, good sales volume, good offer count. I mean, 4. I'd like to see at least 7, but it's okay. Buy box pricing is good. Smaller-ish size sellers. I mean, 500 reviews is kind of fringe. Yeah, it looks like we've seen this guy twice now, so I'm going to open up that listing and reverse source in a bit. Not a bad first product to kick it off with, though. Here we go. Good price, good sales volume. Amazon is on the listing. Not a good sign. Typically, though, if their error happens here on SellerAmp where it says Amazon stock is 0, sometimes that's an error, but I'll check the Keepa just to double check. So I'm going to open it up and check the Keepa. Once I find 3 products and open up to their storefront, I'm going to go and actually dive into those products to see if we can actually buy them and start adding them to our catalog. If not, I'm going to keep it moving a little bit. Okay, we have this product, $108, which is very high priced. I don't know if I would start that off as a new seller, but it has good sales volume and has good offer count. And there's all small sellers. This one's pretty big. This seller has 1,700 reviews, which is decent. But I'm going to open that up. All right, let's dive into some of these. Let's dive into this first one, which is a hazmat product. Okay, so buy box is very, very much in a straight line. I don't like to see that, in all honesty. If I see buy box on a very, very straight line, it typically means brand direct. This case is not because there's a few sellers rotating with it, but I like to see the buy box when it's really trickling to see there's a lot of opportunity. And for here, it's just not. It's not trickling like that. So it shows me that there's very little opportunity here. And the buy box actually goes away, and then the pricing comes down. So I just don't like this product in general when you get on. Of course, you can do a deeper dive into it, look at some of the sellers, look at some of the past history, maybe even try to go find a source site for short opportunity. But typically, I like to have that longer, stable opportunity because it just gives me more trust in buying and selling the product over time. All right, so this Keepa chart just does not look good. So what I've been doing here is I've been just scrolling right down here into the Keepa chart because that's my first check. I know the volume, the monthly sales per month is 1,000 sales per month, which is really good. But I need to go into the Keepa chart to see the sellers, the volume, the pricing, everything like that. And to give you a little bit of a rundown for some context, the top chart here, if you look here just in the top, this is the price, okay? And down here is the sales volume, how many sales per month every month. And down here is the sellers. So we can actually see which sellers, who they are, how big they are, their reviews right down there at the bottom. So that shows you when the sellers are coming on the listing and getting off the listing, okay? So this Keepa chart just doesn't look good at all. It has Amazon all over it. Not really all over. Amazon goes away, but the buy box also goes away when Amazon goes away, which is a bad sign. And the sales volume is going down a bit. I mean, it came from 10,000 to 1,000, even though 10,000 is really, really good volume. And the seller count is very choppy and interesting. So it only alarms me that there's going to be trouble on that listing. So I'm just going to completely move past it. Okay. Now let's go into this one. Okay. So this actually looks a little bit more stable of a Keepa, one that actually works out a bit more. I can see that bigger sellers winning buy box. What I'm doing as I'm running my cursor from right to left on the price, not to see the difference in price, because I could typically just eye it up from what I'm seeing here, but to see which seller was winning buy box at what time. And I want to see smaller sellers winning the buy box because that shows that anybody like you, anybody who just starts a selling account can go on this listing and compete. If one seller that's really, really big winning buy box, there's no opportunity for us, all right? So let's see here. It looks decent. I mean, there's a bigger seller hopping on here once in a while, 4,000 reviews. Other than that, 700 reviews, 12,000 reviews isn't great to see. I did see a seller with 12 reviews win buy box, and the sales volume is pretty good for a $100 item. So, I have a different perspective of looking at these more expensive items. As a completely new seller, I wouldn't start with these because you can only buy 3 or 4 units before you start to really, spend a lot of money on inventory. But for a more advanced seller, once you start to get the ropes a little bit and do it for a while, this looks like an opportunity because even if we can sell, let's say 20 or 30 units per month, and we can get this at 30% ROI, which would be around 60, that's $582 profit a month, which is a really good sign if everything works out, right? If supplier price works out, if no, anything problems with the listing, if that works out, that's really good. A lot of people would take $582 a month, a little bit extra money in their pocket, right? So there's a good sign there. Now, let's open this up to the 1 year chart. This looks decent. I can see there's no really problems with the listing. The pricing comes down a bit it creeps below 100. It's not that bad. It creeps down below 90, which is not as good. And there's some bigger sellers winning buy box there, which is not the best. Okay, it's not the best, but the volume is really consistent, and so is the seller count. So, if this only had 100 or 200 sales per month, maybe I would ignore it right away. But the fact that it has 500 sales per month and that stays consistent for an entire year, there's an opportunity for us to win 20 or 30 sales and get $582 profit, somewhere in that range, baking in maybe one refund or so, right? So this looks pretty decent. What I'm going to do is, just for the sake of it, I'm going to go here and try to find a supplier. And again, guys, like I say, the way to find a supplier is literally just putting the product title into Google. Now you could switch it up a little bit to take all this other extra stuff out. Maybe if you want to help Google's search volume to try to figure it out. But let's see what pops up here. So we have to find a match, of course, as always. So we have to make sure we're matching the model number, which is GPDC001. Okay, looks like these are that, but you can tell they're more expensive than what Amazon's has the product listed at, which is not great. So we're typically looking at this for about $60. Okay. Looks like, is this the name of the brand? Yeah, this is the name of the brand. It does look like the brand is foreign because it has foreign letters there. I'm not sure. That might be like Deutsch or German. I'm not sure which language that is, but it looks like the brand is selling it for $99.99. So I'm gonna click and open that up, and let's see if I can find one more supplier. Now, what I'm trying to look for when I'm looking for suppliers, just off of the Google search, I'm not looking for our pricing to be 60, right? That's impossible to find like a perfect pricing right off the bat, because if that was the case, then this would be selling for a lot cheaper and there'd be a whole heck of a lot more sellers in the listing, right? The harder it is to find, the better. So I'm looking for something around like $80 or $75 so I can get one or two coupons to take me down to 60, or give me some wiggle room to negotiate. Now, it looks like this brand must have like a requirement to set their pricing at 109.9, because all of these companies are selling it at 109.9. It doesn't mean there's no opportunity, right? If you reach out to the company, who knows what could happen to get it down to a cheaper price. But right now, it looks like all of these companies are pretty sturdy on sticking on their pricing here, okay? So here we are here. Here's the brand here. Now, the brand has it listed at $99.99. If we were able to get, let me open up my calculator here. If we were able to get a 20% discount, let's see what that would get us to. I think that would get us to $80, right? But let's see what it gets us to. 0.80. It gets us to 79.92. So with that pricing here, let's see, selling at 100, buying at 79.92, we'd be break even, actually losing a little bit of money. So even with a 20% discount, it would not work. So this product would not work unless we find a really good coupon of like 30% or 35%, or you reach out to the brand directly or even one of these suppliers and try to get a bulk discount to get it down to 65. But chances are that's probably a low chance, because even that those suppliers, they probably are buying the product from the manufacturer for 65 or 60. So it would be, very low odds for them to supply it at that price. But this listing took us the furthest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse source, just like we did to find this product, the sellers on this listing, because chances are if they align with our values and they're actually buying and selling products that look pretty good, then I'm going to focus on these. Now, also something that I didn't do that I probably should have when looking at the SellerAmp is that there's one seller that's taking down the price. Typically, I like to go with the lowest FBA price on my expected sell costs. Sometimes you can kind of just look at the Keepa and say, okay, what am I expected to sell this at over the course of the next 3 months? You can make a case that it's going to be 109 or 109.99, but that's a little bit of a guess and not a long shot, but it's a little bit of a guess and concerning, because this seller has listed at 100 and its past history tells me it trades more at 100. So I just focused off that $100 number, because if sold at 110, I mean, that's a much better number to play around with, because then that brings us 10% ROI. And if we got a 30% discount, which would take us to 70, we'd be at 25% ROI. All right. And that's $18 profit per unit. And then at 500 sales per month, it's like $7 or $8 grand a month in profit. And of course, you're not going to win all the sales, but that's what the entire listing does. Okay. So let's just move on. Let's go into some of these other sellers on this listing, because I liked kind of what the value they brought with what products they're looking for, and see what we can find. So he's carrying a lot of this brand. You could tell he must be getting a discount maybe from the company or so on. He's carrying a lot of items with Amazon. And the way I'm seeing that here is if you look in the Keepa, when this yellow wave is happening here of this on this chart here, the Keepa chart, they're having this yellow wave. Then that's showing me that, Amazon's there and Amazon's been there for 3 months. And over 5 or 6 products that I look at on his first page, he has Amazon, right? Amazon, Amazon, Amazon. That's a very bad sign, okay? Amazon again. So this seller just, is something that I don't personally align with and I don't recommend you guys aligning with having listings that Amazon is selling on. So I'm just gonna move on and see if we can find any other sellers who maybe don't align as much with Amazon as he does. Okay, let's see. We have this seller here only selling 2 products and it's from the brand. All right, I'm gonna move on. Now let's look at this seller here. Selling Shimano, Festool, Kneepex, okay. Again, I don't work in the clothing category or the games or toys, but I see a few of them popping up, but we're gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and see if we can find some other stuff. Okay, what's this? Petzl, Swift, replacement headband. All right, so the volume is just so low. The pricing's good. I mean, I like the $32 price, but the volume is so low. He's selling a lot of low volume items outside of this Jellycat stuff. Okay, dental dog chews. BSR is great. Estimated monthly sales is great. Offer count's great. Buy box is great. Okay, really good on the sellers here. I could tell the Keepa isn't too good because the Keepa the pricing came from 20 all the way up to, 35 you can see here on the right, which is not the best sign. But we'll open it up to do some more deeper digging to see what if there's an opportunity. Okay, look at this one. This looks pretty neat. Looks like a Swiss product or a Swedish product. $45, 400 sales per month, 6 in the offer count. I like a little bit more on the sellers, but it's okay. And smaller sellers winning buy box, okay? And the Keepa looks decent. It stays around 35 to 45. Not bad. I want a bit more consistency, but it's still not bad. This seller is providing us some good values here with opportunities. Okay, $34.99, 400 sales per month, 15 offers, which means sellers. You always replace that word offers and sellers. It's the same thing. New sellers, all right? And some of the sellers look pretty good. The Keepa chart looks a little bit weird here in pricing. You can see the chart going up and down, which is not too good, but it's all between 30 and 35, which is not a concern. It's better than it going from 17 to 35. That's way more concerning. All right, let's dive into some of these products. You can see here how quickly this happens when sourcing, because if you look at the top of my screen, we now have like 8 or 9 Amazon listings or storefronts open. So the train of sourcing just goes on and on and on and on. It never ends, and it gets larger and larger, all right? Let's dive into this Keepa as we always do. Always look at the volume. I mean, I know we know it by now at 700 sales per month, but always get a good eye on it, see what it is. All right, let's look at the buy box. All right, a lot of FBM buy box. Smaller seller here winning buy box, smaller seller. That's a good sign. Buy box goes away sometimes, very little. It's not too concerning. And the pricing goes down to 20, which is very, very weird. I'm wondering why the pricing trades at 20. So this product has to be profitable at 20 because for the most part, people are selling it at 20. Now, if you look at the sales volume right here in the middle chart, it's coming up all the way from 50 to 100 to 750. I mean, it's better that it's going up and it's not going down, right? We'd rather have it go up than go down. But I don't like the fact that it's coming from 50 to 100. That's a big drop, right? That gives me a really tough time at figuring out how much stock I should buy. Because if I buy 200 units and it goes to 50 sales per month, it's going to take me 4 months if I win 100% of the buy box to sell out my inventory. And when I say the buy box, I mean sales, right? So this box right here, this is considered the buy box for Amazon selling. And whenever you're in the buy box, you win the sales, okay? So you want to try to be in this buy box. And then sometimes Amazon has 2 buy boxes, which is right here. You can see another way to buy, okay? It's typically when one seller has like longer shipping times or a higher price, or sometimes they just switch it up with 2 buy boxes. All right, now this listing is not great. I mean, I like the fact that the volume is going up rather than down, and the seller count looks really, really good. This is an ideal seller count because it's going up and down, kind of like a wave. And that's what I want to see because it shows me stability and that the chart's actually stable rather than it being like up and down, or even just like one flat line. That's also not good, okay? But the pricing's weird. What I'm going to do is, because this checks out pretty much, I'm going to go into the SellerAmp really quickly, look at some of the sellers. Okay, we have all smaller sellers here. all smaller sellers. Only 3 or 4 of them are priced competitively. I'm going to take this into Google and let's see if we can find our supplier. All right, let's see what we got here. So what are we looking for? This is priced at $33.99. To make this product profitable right now, which I don't like to work off of that because I want to kind of forecast what it's going to be when my inventory is actually available to buy from the Amazon customers for them to buy it, which I expect the price to come down a bit again. You never know. But for it to be profitable right now, we need to buy this at around $17.93, okay, to get our 30% ROI and our $5 profit per unit, okay? Now let's see what we got here. So what size is this? We have a 15 count, extra small. All right. Let's see what we got here. Let's see what we got here on this count. All right, we have someone selling this in bulk, entirely pets. This is not, it's just 11 pounds. Okay. Even if the advertising looks different, you still have to go a deeper dive and make sure it's the same product, because a lot of brands sometimes have new packaging, they just repurpose the packaging, which you don't want to work off of that. For the most part, it looks the same. It doesn't say 11 count anyway. Okay, it says 30 chews. Okay, so it's definitely not the same. Let's see what we got here. Okay, we have this product here. This supplier here looks pretty good. We have a 15 count, extra small, 1142. Obviously, we don't know anything about the supplier yet. We have to make sure that. Okay, they also have a wholesale department. Just kind of looking off the face value kind of things. They're not in stock though. So if the supplier says they're not in stock, chances are a lot of the other suppliers are not in stock as well. There might be like a back order. That could be the reason why the pricing is increased, because just like supply and demand. But them being priced at $11.42 is pretty dang good, because even if the product goes down to 20, right? That's our worst case scenario. We're still profitable. I mean, it's 3% ROI, but it's not terrible. And this supplier actually has a wholesale department. If you see here on the top right, it says wholesale login. So with that being there, that tells me that we can probably buy this product at a 20% discount, right? If we buy 100 or 200 units, which is still not that much worth of inventory. That's about $1,000 or maybe $2,000. But if it has good ROI, that's good money in our pocket. So if we can get this for a 20% discount, I mean, there's a chance at a higher discount, of course. But to play it safe a little bit, I'm going to say at least 20%. I think they would give us. We got 1142, and we're buying this at a 20% discount, which would be 9.13. And if you have a wholesale account, you're typically tax exempt. You obviously have to have a tax permit, a tax exempt permit. Depending on which state of you're doing business in, like how to qualify for it. All you have to do is basically just pay for the permit with your business. But if you don't have a business, then you just have to pay the tax. Some states are tax-free. Connecticut is not one of those tax-free states. It's like 6.5%. But I have a tax permit because I have a wholesale reseller's permit. So if I get free shipping and no taxes, we get this at $9.13 with a 20% discount. Now that's just me imagining. Now, of course, it could be a 10% discount or it could be a 30% discount. But I'm kind of just baking in of what I expect it to be based off of prior knowledge. So if we buy this for $9.13 and we're selling it at $20.35, worst case scenario, right? Because this product's out of stock a little bit. Maybe when it comes back in stock, it's going to tank a little more, which is totally fine. But worst case scenario, we get this for $20.35 because over the past 7 or 8 months, the product's trading above 20. It even goes up to 29 a little bit. So we can imagine that, okay, our base is $20.35, all right? And we're buying at 9. So that means our profit per dollar is under 5. It's just under 3, which is totally okay. But our ROI is pretty good. So if we do buy 100 units, let's say, for example, then our profit's going to be around $260 and our investment's going to be $913. Now, this listing does 700 units per month. And of course, it's kind of recent because it's a little bit different here. You can tell the volume has been increasing quite a bit. But, if it stays at 700 units per month, which it looks like it keeps going up, which is great. But that's about $1,800 profit this entire listing does. So there's $1,800 in profit if we buy at this price, our discounted price, to share amongst this listing with other sellers. How much buy box do we win? Of course, it's dependent on how pricing competitive you are and how much stock you have, like by staying in stock and whatnot. But as a new seller, if you stay in stock and you're always priced competitively, I can imagine based off experience that you're going to sell about 100 to 150 units a month. So that's $400 a month, pretty good. And if we get a better discount, that's pretty good. And remember, the best part about this is I'm basing this price off of what I expect it to be the absolute lowest with $20. Now, compared to what it's selling right now, $33.99, that's 155% ROI. So if people are actually still buying this for $9.13, let's say with that wholesale discount, I mean, even if you just say they're buying it for face value, let's say worst case scenario, you're getting it $11.42 and you're selling it at $33.99, this listing does very, very well as far as profit every month, which is $8,330 profit every single month, which is really, really good because if we share our 150 sales, we're investing $1,700 to get back $1,785, okay, which is a good investment. So this one is worthy of adding to our sheet. And again, we have to go through making sure that they're in stock, making sure that they can supply 700 units or whatever, however many units you're looking to buy, and go through all the qualifying questions to make sure that the supplier is a good supplier. Go through Trustpilot, go through Google reviews, making sure the supplier is good. I would even recommend calling. Okay, I love calling the suppliers to see that they're actually real humans, have a real address, and so on. But so far, it looks like it's good enough for us to take it to the next step. Everything we do with product sourcing is checks and balances, making sure the first check and balance works out, making sure that we can move on to the next check and balance, making sure we move on to the next check and balance, and so on, okay? So all looks well so far, and I'm gonna maybe go back and reverse source that product after, but for now, let's go on to our next product. You can tell this rabbit hole of sourcing never ends, okay? So we have an international product, I can tell, 400 sales volume per month. Now the listing, the reviews are pretty low with 3.3 reviews. I don't really like to see that, in all honesty. That's really low. I'd like to see a little bit more, but it is what it is, okay? Now, let's keep it going. So the pricing looks pretty consistent, staying around 40, goes down to 35, which isn't great, but it goes back up, okay? Looks pretty consistent. Buy box goes away really quickly. Volume is coming up. It went from 100 all the way up to 400 now. Seller count's at 7. It trades a little bit lower. I like to see a little bit more on the seller count, maybe like 8 or 10. But, beggars can't be choosers. It doesn't look like a terrible keeper as far as the pricing. Actually looks pretty good. But as far as the volume, it's really tricky. I mean, it sold back here, 900 times per month in October. And now in March, it went down to 50. And then back here in going to September, it's at 400. So maybe it's a bit seasonal. It could be a bit of a seasonal product, which still means there's a lot of opportunity depending on who the supplier is and whatnot. But let's dive into this a little bit. Okay, the SellerAmp looks decent. So the FBA sellers are selling this at $44.95. So that's the price we're going to shoot for when we go to find a supplier. That's not terrible. So we get a buy cost at $22.29. Let's go see what we can find here. I assume this is going to be an international supplier, which, of course, we have to look at any fees that come with buying internationally. Let's see what we got here. Nothing. Yeah. Oh, the international products are always more difficult to find. They're not going to be popping up right in front of you just because they're a bit harder to find. What do we got here? This is scandykitchen.com. Okay. So this supplier is selling this at 16.99 British pounds. I'm pretty sure British pounds are about 20% more. The conversion rate is 20% more than what the dollar is. So we're going to go here and say 16, might be a bit more, might be 25%. Let's say 25% just to play it safe. And then, of course, I have to look it up. 21.23. Okay, so without shipping and so on, which shipping says it's free, but we also don't know if they're shipping to the U.S., but this supplier looks like it has opportunity, even though it's a bad case scenario, the fact that they're overseas. I always recommend not working with suppliers overseas just because there's a long shipping time, there's more problems to occur, and there's millions of products on Amazon, and we can rather just focus on, ones that are in the U.S. For the products. Yeah, this is a Swedish product, I can tell. It says visit Sweden.com. But this would be a product that I think you approach the brand on, okay? And I say I think because that's what I would do, okay? Because as far as finding it from a retailer or a wholesaler, it doesn't look like it's too easy or obvious to find, which is totally okay. The better products are like that. But it looks like a good quality listing, and if we can buy at a profitable price here at $22.99, there's 400 sales per month. And of course it dips and goes up and down, up and down. But over time, it's a stable product, right? There's a low low seller count. There's not big sellers, and there's demand there. Okay, there's demand. And this shows me a lot of opportunity. So what I would do is I would go and actually contact the brand. Now, I'm not going to log it onto our sheet for now because it's kind of difficult. But if you're watching this and if you want to go brand direct and try to get a relationship with the brand or one of their distributors, I would go and contact the brand directly, see what opportunity we can find with them. Okay. Now I'm just going to X out of this really quickly and let's keep it moving. And of course, you can go and reverse source those sellers now on that product as well. And the only thing to note with those sellers is that typically they're probably they like international products, because if they're selling one international product, they're going to be selling many more other international products, which is a niche. And if you like that niche, there's opportunity. Okay. So let's go into the next one here. Here's the keep it chart. Looks decent, consistent on pricing, smaller sellers winning buy box, rotating FBA and FBM. Okay. Looks like a good opportunity. Sales volume is perfect. It's staying at that flat line. And seller count is pretty good. It's pretty stable. It's going down a little bit, not as much as I wanted to. I like the seller counts that go like up and down a little bit more because it shows me that sellers are actually selling out. But when it's not going down as much, it can either be other sellers are priced not competitively, or one seller is winning the buy box majority of the time, which is not the best sign. Now, the past 1 year chart is actually a little bit more incentivizing. It shows me that the pricing is really consistent. Volume's still consistent. I mean, it went down to 200 sales per month in November, but it's still consistent. And the seller count looks a little bit more what I'm looking for. Going up, going down, going up, a little bit more of a wave rather than what we saw in the 3 months. The 3 month chart shows me more of that flat line. Over a year, it shows me more of a wave. Okay, so that gives me a better picture. And good thing Keepa has that to show us. Let's go look at some of the pricing here. What we got from sellers. Okay, so it looks like they're at 32.05. Looks like one seller's popping up here a few times. Sometimes it's a glitch from SellerAmp. But for the most part, there's like 3 or 4 sellers who are priced pretty competitively around 32.05. So I can bet my bottom dollar that our buy cost is going to be 32.05. And it also looks like one of my team members actually maybe came across this product because they have a buy cost inserted into here already on SellerAmp. But we'll go do our digging anyways just to see it. And with these filters, you have to be careful because these, you see how it says genuine here in the listing? Sometimes these filters are really a bit picky and there's a lot of like alternatives or OEMs, which is like an alternative model for these filters. And you don't want to do that because customers are going to be really unhappy if they're buying a product that says one thing and they're receiving another thing. That can cause a lot of trouble, okay? Let's see what we got here. So we're looking for an 8-pack of this product, 6629ER. Now, I don't like Walmart, so I'm just going to kind of ignore them. We have a few companies here that are kind of priced a little bit more competitively or priced higher. We have a 72-pack. So let's do 72 divided by 8 is 9, I believe. 72 divided by 8 is 9. So we got 314.91 divided by 9. 34, not even priced competitively at all. Okay. So looks like we have another UK supplier, I guess, a lot of UK suppliers at 1378 UK, British pounds. So that is about 17 or 18 USD. Again, that's an opportunity there. If you are looking to go buy overseas, I don't really recommend it because a lot of hurdles can pop up. We have one that's popping up here. Again, this is Walmart. I just don't like working with Walmart. Those suppliers, those invoices don't do well with Amazon because it's not a real traditional supplier. Here we go with this supplier here. Again on Walmart. Boy, oh boy. Okay. Pricing doesn't look too obvious here. Again, you can reach out to the brand, try to go wholesale, or try to keep digging. But for the sake of time, we're going to not dig. Okay. Let's move on. All right, we're back here to that one seller that found us those 3 products. So I'm going to keep digging through this seller storefront, see what we can find. And then again, after, I want to make sure we reverse source this product because it looked pretty good. I think there's some opportunity there, but let's keep digging. So again, I'm just moving over the toys, like the Jellycat stuff, not what I align with. This is the bigger brand, American Crew. I don't like working with bigger brands, so I move on. There's a calculator, which is seasonal. A lot of FBM and a lot of bigger sellers. Not good. Bass Rosen, okay, was it musical instruments? Low volume, 1 seller. Doesn't check out for us, okay? Okay, looks like the same product we just went through. rid of this right here. It is a blue cartridge, very low volume with 26 sales per month, and that's a variation, so very not good. All right, this is a baby face cream, which baby category is really good. Only problem is that pricing is at $17.22. I like to work with products that are above 20, so I would personally move on from this, but it looks decent. Let's see what else we got here. We have stock modeler beeswax, assorted color for kids. This is a little bit interesting. There's massive sellers on here. 48,000 reviews, 207,000 reviews. And of course, this seller is FBM, so you don't have to worry about it too much, but the other seller is not. Let's see what else we got here. Continental Tire, okay. It's a variation listing. There's a seller with 2,000 reviews and pricing is just that flat line. I hate seeing that. I hate seeing that flat line of pricing because it tells me that there's not much buy box rotation going on there. All right, this product looks decent. Good price, good sales volume. Mid-size sellers, again, okay, this is a really big seller with 16,000 reviews, which would make me pass on it, but it's decent. Okay, let's keep it going here. Here's a lot of bicycle products and interesting products. We have what here is a tension silver plated string. I've never heard of that before. Maybe it's musical. Yeah, it is. All right, 20 sales per month. That's not too good. Let's keep it moving here. Let's see what else we can find. We have a cat product, recovery collar. Okay. Looks a bit interesting. $26.99. Low sales volume. Again, these low sales volume listings, there's no point because you don't want to invest your money into something that's just going to sit there. You want to invest your money in something that's going to sell through. Even if it's 20% ROI, you want to get sales because you want to learn and get ROI and get profit back in your pocket. There's no ROI if the inventory just sits at the warehouse in Amazon. Let's keep trying to find it here. Okay, microchip, 126, which is more expensive. Okay, smaller sellers looks like a good sign, and the keeper looks pretty good. I'm gonna open that up. Oh, got a little bit of an error there. Let's go and open that up, and I'll dive into that in a second. Shall we dive into it now? Shall we? No, why not? All right, 200 sales per month, and it's a $100 product. That $125 product, which is pretty good. Okay, that's really expensive for a new seller. Again, you can only buy maybe 4 or 5 units before you risk it all. Like, you know, it's too much money in inventory on one product, especially. But as you get more experience, this is going to feel pretty comfortable and normal to you. Okay. Again, if you get one return, it's like minus $60 or minus $70 in refund. You know, that's too big in the early days. Okay. Okay. Pricing's pretty consistent. It dips down a bit here to 110, 115, which I don't like to see. So worst case scenario, I'll work off of that $115 number, but it's not terrible. Okay. It's not terrible. Sales volumes are on 200. It goes down to 50, back up to 200. Okay. So we pretty much know that this sales volume is going to trade between 100 and 200 sales per month. The bigger problem is the seller count. The seller count would look great if it was just this. Okay. But if you open up to the 1 year over the past, 3 months, it's kind of skyrocketing a little bit, which I don't like to see. Now, it's not terrible because it's still under 30 or close to 30. And it's not like just like one straight line going up. So it's not the worst case scenario, but it's not terrible. I mean, let's look at the all-time chart. Okay, all-time chart shows more of the same. Yeah, it's not terrible. It does look like there's kind of an IP complaint here. Maybe like a really mini one. 5 sellers got kicked off the listing, it looks like. Potentially. But all right, let's go look at the seller count because this looks decent. Or the SellerAmp, I'm sorry. Because it looks decent. It looks like opportunity. I don't want to pass up on this right away. A lot of these sellers have 1 unit in stock, which tells me right away that it's pretty hard to acquire this item. It means that they're either buying from all the same supplier or it's just really hard to acquire this item. This seller has 129 units in stock, okay? Or it has more units in stock, has 65, and this seller has 35 units in stock, which they're probably buying it wholesale or from a different supplier. Let's go and put this into Google, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out the size just because, you know, Google might get confused when I type it in. What do we got here? Okay, we have Sure Flap Peck here is 4 inch by 5 inch. Okay, let's see what we get here. Okay, here's the brand itself. Sure Peck here has it $186. We would be selling very negative profit at that price. What else we got here? 189, 189. It's just hard. It's hard to see products with that high pricing there. What's this supplier? Skins Clinic. Okay. So this supplier has it at $49.99, which seems a little bit too good to be true, to be honest. I would have to do my really, really good due diligence here to make sure that this is a legitimate supplier, because selling something for 57% off is not too realistic most of the time. Let's just see what is it's Reese sold, and let's say Trustpilot. I'll just look at it really quickly. Let's see if anything comes up. Okay. I don't know if this is the same. If this is the same one, it looks a little bit different. It's at 2.9 reviews, but regardless, there's no possible way they're selling at 57% off on a discount. Like, this listing would be tanked. I would assume that that's a faulty supplier, so I would move on from that one. But in all, I would keep diving into this. Okay, I'd keep diving into this because it looks decent, looks good volume. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to save it. I'm just going to save it here into our sheet. I'm going to put NA, no supplier. Okay, we'll call it like a lead without source site. That's what I like to call that. But we can dive into it later on. And again, this is when we can go and reverse source some of the sellers here because they align with this and we align with it. So there's an opportunity. So I'll dive into reverse sourcing that one after. Now, the seller's given us a good amount of opportunities. You can tell he's given us about 4 products now, which is I like. And again, if you find a really good seller that you like, I like to save their storefront. All right, I like to save their storefront in the Google Sheet to go and dive back into it later. Because what you can do is, if you just save a seller's storefront and you go to reverse source them, do the same process for the new products that they have once a month, every 2 months, and you have 8 or 10 sellers you do that for, you let them do the sourcing work for you, right? Or your eventual team member, when you hire someone, to let that seller do the work for you and just basically copycat them, okay? Because that's what you're doing here. You're just essentially copycatting, buying from the same or similar supplier and going to work on it, all right? Let's see what this one is here. Okay, looks like a Japanese product here, or maybe not, just because there's some sellers here that are from Japan. 3 sellers from Japan. Okay, very low volume, not good. We have nose pliers, all right, interesting. Sales per month, Amazon's on the listing, no go. Watercolor, all right. We got Yakima car rack systems. It's a variation listing, only 6 sellers, and there's a massive seller here. There's a lot of big sellers on there. I would avoid. Even if the sellers are all FBM, I always wondered to myself, why are all the big sellers FBM? Why would they rather just do it FBA, right? So it's kind of concerning. All right, so this seller, I'm gonna put this on the side for now, and I'm gonna go back into this listing that we found because I actually want to reverse source this listing because it looked pretty good. And we have an opportunity here. So let's see what some of the sellers are looking at and what they're thinking. Let's go here. Let's start with these first 2 sellers, okay? Let's see. He's selling Milwaukee, Games Workshop, Kita, Ryobi. Okay, a lot of tools. He's selling a lot of tools. Tools are good to buy from Home Depot, Lowe's, the big suppliers like that. Okay, he's selling a new package Bergeron tool, $28. All right, 10 sellers. It's about mid-sized sellers. I wouldn't recommend this for a new seller just because 941 reviews is kind of a lot, but it's not worth just going past it. We got to dive into it a bit more. What else do we have here? Vanish Crystal White Powder. Interesting. See, I'm skipping over stuff that doesn't fit my criteria, right? If it's below $20, if it's clothes or toys, anything like that, I just skip over, right? And you get faster and faster as you do it, and it makes more and more products become available to buy, okay? Vanish Crystal White Powder. Okay, we have $26.99, good sales per month. And we have a few bigger sellers here that really turns me away. There's still an opportunity to go and open it up, dive into it a little bit deeper, but I'm going to be kind of a bit picky here, and I'm going to move on to the next one just off of preference, but feel free to go and open that one up and see what they got. All right, $85, 300 sales per month, 11 sellers, not bad. Okay, all smaller sellers outside of this big guy. Van Mark deals, I've actually seen him kind of frequently. So buy box is actually at 63. I'm going to go and open up that listing as well to dive into that one because it looks like it has some opportunity. All right, we have a Stanley product. This looks like a bit of a big tool. I don't like to work too much with big stuff. It has to be kind of under 4 or 5 pounds, but it's not the worst case scenario, okay? Let's see. Pricing's pretty good, and the sellers are actually pretty small as well. Now we found 3 listings already, so let's go through the same exact price. As you can tell now, we have what, 15 or so listings here at the top available to us, which is quite a lot, okay? So, or some storefronts and some listings. So this sourcing process of reverse sourcing just goes on and on and on forever, which is a good thing. It's a good thing for us, all right? Okay, let's see. The pricing looks pretty good. Smaller sellers still winning buy box. Another listing that has the seller count increasing. I don't like to see that, in all honesty. And it has the volume increasing, but also the seller count is increasing. So I'm going to move on from this one, even though it's still worth doing a little bit of a deep dive, but I'm going to be a bit picky here so we can find the best products. Okay, let's look at this one here. Got a little bit of buy box rotation, all from smaller sellers. Okay, that's a good sign. Good volume, 300 sales per month. And the seller count is kind of stable for the past 3 months, but for the past year, it's going up and then down a little bit, okay, which is not bad. And pricing's coming down a little bit over the past year. It started at 100 at the beginning of the year, and now it's all the way down to 100, or what is it? It's down to 60, which is a bad sign. But if it's still profitable, it doesn't mean we could just ignore it right away, because this is a smaller product, right? It looks good. Let's dive into it. I'll look at the SellerAmp really quickly. Okay, smaller seller, big seller here. You can see there's a big price gap here as well. So sometimes whenever there's a big price gap, you can kind of like infer or guess that the pricing eventually might come back up, because maybe once these sellers sell out, the pricing is going to pop back up here into the 85 range. But I got to find this. If we're buying it for selling it for 63, I got to buy it for 36, which is tough. But if we're selling it for 80, if we're selling it for what, 82, we're going to buy it for 49, which is a big difference here. But let's just see if we can even get anywhere close to those numbers. All right, this supplier is selling at 99, 119, 63. It's not terrible because we get a 20% discount. Let's see what a 20% discount does for us. I like using that number as a base because typically when I buy in bulk, I get about a 20% discount. Sometimes you can get more of a discount and sometimes you can get less. You never know what happens. But, okay, if you get that 20% discount, you're buying for 50.04. It's not terrible because you're getting about 27% ROI if you sell it at that higher price. If you sell it back here to 82, you're getting good ROI. Right now, it's not selling at that price, but there's still an opportunity, okay? I would contact this supplier. So I'm actually going to save this. I'm going to contact this supplier here. Oh, is the supplier the same as the brand? No. Okay, it looks like the supplier, this is all messed up here because the supplier goes view on Amazon. I don't know what they're doing there, okay? Typically, they should have a checkout button. I don't know why they're saying go to Amazon. Okay, Sears is selling the product. We would need an ultra discount to make that profitable. Okay, here comes this supplier. No. Had the same name, but not the same picture here. All right, this supplier here, camel.com. I never heard of them. All right, yeah. Okay, so here's a really good example of what not to do. So if you pull up a supplier like this, and they just have all this Amazon information, I mean, they're showing us the Amazon pricing history, right? Like, what are you doing? You have no relationship to Amazon. That is something you want to just avoid right away. It's like, why are you showing me any Amazon information? Are you a fraud? Are you a real supplier? Are you going to scam people? I don't know what it may be. So there looks like an opportunity here with this listing in general. I don't think we're going to end up finding a supplier unless we do a really deep dive. And for time's sake, I don't want to, have to waste all that time. So I'm going to put NA just like that one so we can dive in and find a supplier later. And for the next video I make, I'll actually make another tab that says leads without source site, and I'll make a long list of ones that we can't find for source site, okay? Let's get out of that one. Let's go into this listing here, this Stanley product, okay? Pricing is consistent, volume is consistent. Seller count looks like a little bit of an IP complaint here, went from 25 to 19. When I see this, it could be an IP complaint, it could not be an IP complaint. And if you're completely new to Amazon, that means that this brand typically doesn't want people selling on their listings, selling their products. So what they do is they alert to Amazon and say basically, hey, do an IP complaint, intellectual property, kick these people off. Most of the time you'll see the seller count go from like 20 to 1 or 20 to 2. I don't know how those 1 or 2 sellers stay on, it's just by luck. But for this case scenario, only 6 people got kicked off. Regardless, it's not a good sign. And again, as I open up the 1-year chart, it does it again. If I go back here to, June, it goes from 23 to 17. Again, 6 people got kicked off again, which is a bad sign. But then they got brought right back on here. It's 17 back up to 23. So it's very, very weird on what happened there. But I just don't like to dive into these products. But for the benefit of the doubt, carry some optimism, go and find a supplier. Let's just see. So we're gonna buy this for $21.28. And the reason why we gotta buy it for a little bit cheaper is because it's a heavy product. When shipping it to Amazon, it's gonna cost a lot of money on shipping. Okay, let's see if we can find anything. Acme Tools right here is a good supplier. They supply in bulk and they give discounts. They do a lot of good benefits for people buying from them. Okay, we have this one here selling on Walmart. Don't like to see that. We have another UK supplier. Let's see what we can find here. EquipBid. Is this the same product? I don't know. No, it looks like it's like the I don't know, replacement part or something. Okay, Zorro carries that. Let's see if it's the same model number. 83069. Zorro's a really good supplier, and they carry this at 39, which we have to go and buy this for 21. Now, I do know Zorro always has a 20% discount. Always, 100% of the time, has a 20% discount. They run it really, really frequently. So if they're selling this for 39 and we get it for 31, is there any wiggle room here? No, negative 10% ROI. So we can keep doing digging here, but I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the new product and see if we can find some more opportunities and keep going down the storefront here. Okay, this would be an opportunity here. This Stanley tape measure has 100 sales per month, has mid-sized sellers. We can open this one up. There's a good opportunity there. Let's see if we can find any more products that pop up. Okay, here's a healthcare product. Nasal hygiene. I can already tell this is UK just because I think the wording is different here. UK or French, which again, that's just it's a different niche. Okay, we have pet technologies, $61, 200 sales per month, 8 offers, and okay, some smaller sellers. In the buy box is pretty consistent. This looks like a good opportunity. Maybe they're buying that from PetSmart or Petco or such. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see what this is right here. We only have 3 sellers, $53, 10 sales per month, too low. We can't work with products that are that low. Like I said, we want to move our inventory in and out. In and out. That's the goal every time, in and out. All right. Let me just dive into these 2 products just for time's sake, okay? So we have this tape measure from Stanley. Let's go down in here into this in the chart. Okay, we have a mid-size seller winning buy box most of the time. Volume goes down to 50 sales per month, and I hate listings that go down to 50 sales per month because that's so low in volume, and it actually goes away. So here in March, January to March, about 3 months, it goes to less than 50 sales per month. So I hate seeing that, and I'd move on from it right away because that's so low volume. Like I said, I always recommend taking a lower ROI, but keep keep the volume high. Allow your inventory to sell through. All right, let's look at this listing. Looks pretty good. $53, $52. Looks pretty good, okay? Let's look at the monthly sold. 200 sales per month. Pops up to 300 sales per month. 200 sales per month, not bad. The seller count is slowly decreasing. Sometimes I don't know why that happens, but sometimes you'd like to see it like pop back up a little bit. But over the past year, it's gone up, stabilized, decreased, okay? So, and the sales volume is just slowly gone up, it looks like, over the past 6 months, which is, it's better than going down. But then this is kind of like the sweet middle ground where the pricing's slowly going down here, you could tell from February, and the volume slowly going up. So maybe because pricing's coming down, volume's going up, like typical supply and demand. Let's look at some of these sellers here. All the sellers are they're smaller-ish sellers. I mean, this one has 1,000 reviews. That's typically tough to compete with. But he's priced uncompetitively. Okay, he's priced at $69.99. So, and this one's priced at $66.24. So, if we can find a profitable supplier to buy this for what, 34, as 31% ROI, then we can go ahead and sell this still profitably and not have to worry about those bigger sellers. So let's go dive into it. Let's go see if we can find anything here. Okay, again, we're not buying from eBay. I'm not buying overseas. Personally, I don't want to buy overseas, longer shipping times and so on. This supplier here, this is Home Depot. Is this the same product? Sri Lanka. It says Sri Lanka. Maybe it's made in Sri Lanka. It's this one's blue, that one's black. So I'm not sure why. Not sure why. But yeah, I mean, I'd have to do a deeper dive into that. Typically, Home Depot doesn't mess that up, but it's a bit interesting. Let's go on another supplier here. Let's see the supplier load. It does look like a good product though, right? Good selling price and so on. Everything kind of checks out here. But, okay, what is this supplier? Not popping up. All right. So we'd have to go and do a deep dive. I don't think we have time for the time's sake to do another, go through another bunch of suppliers here for this product. But this is one I'm going to save here and just put NA. And again, like I said, down here in the sheet, I'm going to make a sheet that says like suppliers without source sites. So we can go and actually go do an entire video just deep diving into suppliers with that, or in leads that we can't find with source sites. So we'll dive into that. But there we go. So for a little bit of recap, we came across, a few potential products. We have one that we have with a source site that we can go and try to buy or try to negotiate buying. Of course, it's out of stock, so we have to kind of negotiate that process. But also, we have 3 potential ones that look really good, right? They look pretty good with the Keepa charts. And we just have to find suppliers with them, okay? Whether that's going to the brand directly or that's going to the retailers and getting a really, really big discount. So there we go. We'll leave it at that. In the next video, we'll pick up with these listings to go and reverse source these listings. Because as you can tell, once you start to find some listings that become your initial listings that are quality, good Keepa charts, good sellers on them and so on, you can just do your entire sourcing process by reverse sourcing these listings. And look what happened here. I mean, here at the top of the screen, we have almost 15 tabs open of either storefronts or listings. The reverse sourcing process never ends. It starts and it goes on and on and on and on forever. So you're always going to have replenishable leads and opportunities to buy that go right in front of you. And of course, the second part of this is, sending your products into a prep center, getting it prepped, shipped to Amazon, selling and rinsing, repeating the process until you have a really big catalog, okay? And it doesn't get more and more complex than that, okay? So there it is, 1 hour-ish of product sourcing. Let's dive into the next one on next week and dive into some more of these listings that we have to find some more profitable products and to get you guys to start selling on Amazon. And as always, please like and subscribe so I can continue to make these more and more videos over and over again. And if there's anything that you want to request or any questions that you have, put them in the comments below. Happy to answer them. Happy to make videos for you to help you start selling on Amazon and make some money with the business. All right, so there we go. And I'll see you guys next week.